Yeah, it's constantly changing. I mean, over a year ago, it was pretty intense because there were all sorts of issues to do with the fear that it would take artists' jobs, the concern about whether it was going to ever achieve human level aesthetic abilities, questions of copyright. All of those things made artists feel somewhat sidetracked. Perhaps similar, if you can imagine the sudden import of ideas of perspective in the 16th century Italian Renaissance to all of those artists that hadn't fully approached the art of painting with science. They would have felt somewhat like there was a steep learning curve to follow artists like Alberti and Brunelleschi. But the enormous confidence that Italy received from this new knowledge that came from all areas of the world, it was an international idea, essentially. All of this knowledge exploded in a new kind of architecture, a new way of thinking, and that's a parallel to what we have now. What does it mean to be an autonomous individual when everything is automated and when your art can be copied, when your whole idea of individual identity is under attack? So that's what they fear. But I personally embrace it. But this is the problem posed, right? It's not just about who achieves the highest aesthetic appeal or whose artwork somehow answers a deeper philosophical problem, although that is the essential thing to do. It is also who can do all of that and get it out there in terms of social media, in terms of marketing, to the highest level. So, and quite honestly, has that really changed? Because back in the day, it was Michelangelo that could do all of those things because he knew the Medici and he knew the Pope and so on, and he also had the higher abilities. People assume that the language models, all they can do is pastiche and copy other styles and that kind of thing. For me, because you're engaging with it in an iterative way over so many thousands of decisions, you're able to move so much faster in understanding what kind of unique style you want to develop. If you try to do this through paintings, you would be producing a maximum of 20 to 30 paintings a year, and that would be a lot. And then you would have to work for, I don't know, 10 years just to get some sort of idea or average of where that style's moving, and with the subtle nuances between them. When you're working with the AI, you can produce simulacrums of these styles, thousands and thousands in one night, in 24 hours, on an NVIDIA RTX 1400, so over 190. So the results are that you can make style changes to aesthetic choices that would have formerly been impossible. So it's going to change everything radically. You will feed in data of your own artwork that you've made, your paintings, your ideas. It will then respond with some emergent properties. So it's like Chinese whispers. It will give you back something that you recognize as familiar to yourself in terms of your own style, but it will have an emergent property that is perhaps, for want of a better word, somewhat hallucinated. So there will be subtle changes. Then you will take those changes that you like or that you respond to, which are according to your own cultural background and your own tastes and aesthetic judgments. You'll put them back into the training data and you'll get something again that's changed. And this is a cycle. So that ultimately 20 times down the line, 20 models that you've trained down the line, the 20th will look so different from the first that effectively it seems like a form of magic, or let's just say that it feels like you've created a style. And this is actually the normal cultural process that people use. And I think that it's just been sped up 100 times. My main concern is what it means, how it, if it's relevant culturally, because you need to figure this out initially that way, rather than testing it out like it's an NFT or something. And will the public buy this, or will the public like this? And it tends to end up being a, I don't know, a penguin on a skateboard or something like that. That's not the way I want to do this, and that's not the way I think that a deep engagement with a deep personal engagement with making art works. So I will first create a complex series of thousands and thousands and thousands of images with hundreds of models, and then iterate between them until I finally find something that resonates a lot with me. And that might take some time. And then I'll start painting them in the real world, as it were, or making light boxes and so on, if you want to remain in the digital. It's not going away now, that's for sure. I mean, we've got the major tech companies head to head over the last few days. The only response to Google Ultra Gemini is going to be for ChatGPT, for OpenAI to make ChatGPT 4 more powerful. So regulation will come in and try and make it safe, and it's already doing a lot of that, or trying to. But they're not just interested. None of these companies are just interested in making a chatbot. They're interested in making AGI, something unbelievably powerful. When it is able to trade faster than the top hedge funds, the fast boys, when it gets to that point, they're all going to be wanting these transformers. They're going to be wanting something that's so powerful that it'll all become almost meaningless, because it will be able to crack any code. It'll be able to, Bitcoin will become worthless. All doors, all walls will disappear. But that in order for it to achieve that kind of level, it would almost need to be, well, it would have to have a universal power, like God, which is unlikely. So, and so I don't think I think that it's the Promethean thing, isn't it? It can, once you discover fire, it can do wonderful things, and keep us warm in caves, and cook our food, and scare away the bear. And it can also burn down villages. So there's no argument to say, well, I wish we'd never discovered fire, because in the Ice Age it was really useful. And but on the other hand, I could say yes. We'll all of those problems that we have with the biological side of our, cancer and blindness, and all of these things could go away, and even longevity might extend, and all of these utopian ideas are suddenly in grasp, this science fiction world. But equally, it could go it might swing the other way too, which is something a bit like out of that old film Logan's Run, where none of us are doing anything in the end. We're just sort of almost lobotomized, can't think for ourselves anymore. And none of the art from the past will be exceeded. I do believe that. It's not like if the Tesla robot can do all of these things, if it can paint, if it can run faster than Bolt, if it can, it's not that it's going to be somehow better than Einstein. It's just going to complement everything that we already are and enhance it in some way. Sometimes make things clearer, and I suppose bring things into focus and perspective, question some aspects of our past, question many aspects of our history, our culture. It will be able to say, well, yes, but historians will say, well, look, Napoleon perhaps wasn't wrong to go into Russia, because we've put all the data in, and from all the data that we have, it was the only thing that he could have done. So we might question Napoleon in a different way. It's very complex, isn't it? So, it's not like everything in the past is frozen. It's up there to be reinterpreted.